Welcome back. Welcome to another installment of Progress Not Perfection. My name is Dan Willcox, and I am going to be painting with you this morning. So what you've caught me in the middle of is a 16 by 20 inch canvas. I've already prepped it with liquid white. If you've got a real keen eye, you'll be able to see that I tested there the fingerprint test in the middle of the canvas to make sure we had just the right amount, which we do. So we're all set and ready to go. Let me tell you what I'm going to be doing today. Got a great demo event coming up down in the Villages on Thursday this week. It's Tuesday now, and so I'm just going to practice one of the paintings I'll do there at the expo for the upcoming semester. It's really going to be a great event. There's probably going to be 50 or 60 of the instructors that participate in the Enrichment Academy, and the new course catalog comes out tomorrow morning, which is Wednesday. And I'm super excited about some changes we've made to class for this coming semester. We've actually been able to add 30 minutes of time. We're going to cap the enrollment at 18 as opposed to 24. We are adding the big 2-inch brush to use for things like applying liquid white, which I did to the canvas today, and then the sky and the water and where it makes sense otherwise. And what else? At any rate, we've added some additional paintings to the roster. So if you've painted with me before down at the Enrichment Academy, you'll see some new ones titled in the catalog. And I'll have all those examples at the expo on Thursday. So colors I'm going to use today, I'm going to practice doing my first landscape, which I just love to do. I love to do it in class. Such a good first painting for people to try if this is their first attempt at a Bob Ross style painting. Because you can have success with it right out of the gate. Not many colors, so you don't have to worry about being a color expert. I'm still not a color expert. I hope to never be one. But I've got titanium white, phthalo blue, mountain mix, Van Dyke brown, cadmium yellow, and some bright red. So we're just going to dive in and get after it. I'm going to smush out a little bit of my blue here, just so it's easier to load the brush. I'm going to take that big 2-inch brush and just tap some color into both sides and get a beautiful sky fired up in there. Gotten quite a bit of positive feedback on my more personal episode of Progress Not Perfection, and I appreciate that. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and just be real with you about my experience in life, my experience with painting, and happy to hear yours as well. So just going to pick a corner and get started with some simple crisscross strokes. Don't worry about this being all uniform. You don't want it all uniform. We'll go back and blend out these brush strokes you can probably see, but I'm leaving some areas lighter on purpose. And you can see as I'm making my way down the canvas, more and more of that blue has come off the brush. It's blending with that liquid white. And as we get down here towards the horizon, I'm just about out of paint, which works out just fine. I'm going to brush out that liquid white I picked up. And then I'm just going to make a blending pass. Same stroke I put it on with. And you don't have to press hard. Be gentle here, actually. Gentle is better, because you can always go back and do it a second time, and you don't want to flatten out your color. Unless that's the sky look you're going for. But I think your preference, you will find, is to have some variation in the sky, just as if you walked outside. It's going to be a beautiful, hot, steamy day here in Central Florida. Might rain, might not. And we're mid-September here, almost, about a third of the way through. And this is a great spot to step back from your painting the first time, take a look at it, and see if you're happy with what you got. I'm going to add a little more blue to both of these corner areas. So just pick up a little of that. Just put some in there, and I want a little more over here. Maybe a little more coming down this way. There we go. Let's blend that one more time, and I think we'll have a happy little sky we can work with. And just be willing to work with whatever happens on your canvas. Don't try and copy mine. Don't try and copy Bob's. Do yours. Yours will be way better. It's yours. Just have an idea. Certainly use some instruction at the beginning. So this is something you can do. This is something you can have success with. And then super lightly, and this brush has been shedding on me a bit today. It's been a while since it's been called into service, but you can tell by how kind of frayed and worn out it is that this has helped create some masterpieces. Let's go ahead and put in some water. A lot of the water will be covered up in this painting, so I'm not too worried about it. So we're just going to pull in from the outside, starting at the bottom. That's where I want the water to be the darkest, moving up towards the horizon. Do the other side the same way. Start outside by my tape. I do have tape on this canvas. I don't think I mentioned that coming into the show today. I've just put masking tape around it. Bob would often use contact paper. I like what masking tape does. Makes transporting these very, very simple because they stack so well back right in the box they came in. And I'm not a big fan of contact paper. It beats me like a drum. I'm not real skilled with a hairdryer. You may be able to imagine why. So I don't have a lot of experience or patience for the hair drying of getting contact paper to stick on a canvas. At any rate, so there's some water. Left that clear, that kind of soft area in the middle. That'll just help look like shimmering light coming across how this water develops in a bit. So good. I like our water and our sky there. So now let's blast in an almighty mountain. You know what I've been doing lately is watching some Bill Alexander videos on YouTube, because he was the predecessor on PBS to Bob taking over, and boy, what a big personality in that guy. He gets so excited, and I love the enthusiasm and just kind of, he's just got a different way of doing it, and I just think that's so cool. And man, what beautiful creations he comes up with. So on this mountain, all I care about is that outside edge. Don't care at all about what's happening underneath. So don't you worry about that either. Maybe we'll have a little two-peak mountain. That's what we often do in this. Remember, I called this one my first painting, and there is a complete tutorial, probably in the same section you're watching this on the website. But thanks to popular requests, I'm doing this as just a one-shot through video. I'm going to try to keep it to about 35 to 40 minutes and just show you what you can do with a little practice. So I'm going to use my big 2-inch brush just to pull out these edges. Got to use the sound effects. This is really where we're going to start giving our mountain some shape. And you can do this a couple times. Nothing set in stone here. Just giving that mountain some great shape. Give us something to highlight here in a second. And don't make it all flat in one color. You want those brush strokes, and we'll blend this out and make it some mist here in a few minutes. So I like to switch over and use the small palette knife. I use the big one to put in the mountain, but I feel like I've just got a lot more control over the snow and all with the little knife. So pull out a good runway of paint, smush it out flat as you can. I'm going to go ahead and mix myself up a little highlight color. So just move some white over here, put in a little phthalo blue, pull it out, let it be marbly, as Bob would always say. I love that expression. It makes so much sense to me. Marbly, just all streaky and different colors, and kind of like if you just smushed out a marble. Pick up that little roll of paint, get up here, just let the paint grab and go for it. Now, if you've practiced and have a super gentle touch, and you got that little roll out there like I did, you can go back and just barely nub it. If you put too much pressure on it, though, you're going to flatten out. You're going to make it look like you iced a cake. Well, some mountains look that way. So if that's how you want your mountain to look, more power to you. Go for it. It is your mountain. Your mountain. You do your mountain how you want to do your mountain. Getting snow to break is just a little something to practice. Let's sneak back there and do this other peak. Then we're going to put in some shadows. Sometimes you got to start a little lower to get it to grab the way you want, and then go. Let this toe or heel, depending on how you look at it, point of the knife, follow that outside edge so it gets wider as you come down. That will help you with that illusion of distance. Narrower at the top, narrower at the top, wider down here near the base, wider at the base. Seems like there's a joke there about wider down at the base, but I'll leave that to you to do on your own. I'm not going to get myself in trouble with that. Let's grab a little highlight color, a little shadow color. Maybe we're going to put in a little more snowy side on this one too, but let's just kind of see if we like our color. That's a little bright on the blue side for me, so we may dull that down or go over it ever so gently, ever so gently. That's the beauty of this. You can just deal with whatever happens on your canvas and change it. If we didn't like it, we could scrape it all right off of there and start again like it wasn't there. I'm going to darken that up just a bit. Ooh, that's the kind of blue I like. That's what I was looking for. It doesn't take much highlight, so get that real thin and just get yourself a little bit out there. Get right up to the edge of your snow and gently pull. That really helps with dimension. That makes it look like the wind has just blown over and swept over your snow into the shadowy part. And you're not going to be able to see the whole thing, so don't worry about making it so you can see it all, because that just is not typically how mountains work. Let's switch over and use the small edge of the knife for this front side here. I like to do that so you can just grab some of that and just let it play. No pressure here on the knife. Just pull some that way. Pull some this way. We're going to darken this color again in just a second, just to give it some variation. Don't forget, it doesn't take nearly as much on the shadow side to get that effect that you're probably looking for. So start with less, and then you can always add more. Always add more if you must. I like to get a little darker with a little mountain mix just to really make it look cold and give myself a nice kind of mysterious back edge to the mountain there. This is going to be way off in the distance, our mountain. I know it's the main thing in your shot right now, so when you're practicing and working on this at home, spend all the time you want on mountains. It is worth it to get comfy here and really do some beautiful things. Now, let me show you kind of a sneaky tip. Grab yourself one more good roll of white paint, and since you've already got the shadow here, if you want another peak right here in front, just sneak it right in there. You've already got the shadow side in there. Oh, look at that. Isn't that cool? Just pulls that little front edge of the mountain right out front. Good. So we've got a nice mountain there. Let's tap out the base of that. I'm going to use my 2-inch brush just to do that. Just getting it good and wiped out. I just got a paper towel folded up. I'm holding it on my palette. And I'm just going to tap. Just tap. I just want to fuzz or blur out the base of my mountain. Now be careful that you're going with the slope of your mountain here. You don't want to just come in here and chop this off, so don't do it like that. See people do that a lot in class, and it frustrates them. They can't figure out why. But that's exactly the kind of, I exaggerated that a little going that way, because of our next step is going to be putting in a footy hill, some distant trees on the far side of our water here, and that is just going to kind of help be a layer there. Now, if you want to get super crazy, you can pick up a little white. If you want to put a little bit more misty cloud kind of feeling, just tap that in. Follow the lay of your mountain, follow the slope that you've got there. So you've got these little white dots from the corner of your 2-inch brush. I flip over and use the other corner now, and just gently, see this brush is shedding on me. Just use the corner of it, grab it, it'll come off, no big deal. And roll right back, tap, 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 tap. This may look like I'm hitting it hard, I'm not, I'm doing it fast. So, and that'll just help it look misty and foggy and mysterious there at the base of our mountain. So how many times have we heard Bob tell us, if you can see the whole mountain, it will be clearer at the top than it is at the bottom. And oh, he's so right. let's see, let me take a peek through the old screen on the camera here. Excuse me for a second. So there we go. You got a nice mountain to look at there. I'm going to go ahead and use my 2-inch brush to put in some foothills there on the far side. So I'm just going to tap in. I'll go ahead and use some of my highlight color we made for the mountain. I just wanted to be a little bit lighter, and there's enough white in that with the blue down here. So I'm going to do one distant one. So I'm just tapping in, giving a little push and bend. So when I come out here and just let the corner lead me here, I'm leaving some space here at the bottom. And I'm just going to touch, see what I get. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Going to look like a whole little forest of trees as I just kind of let it dance off, using more of the brush as I got comfortable and saw what was happening. And now I'm going to just let it get misty, misty, misty as I'm running out of paint. There. In just a second, we'll knock up the tops of those trees. I'll go ahead and do that for you now. I'm actually going to switch over to 1-inch brush. So clean, dry 1-inch brush. Just going to come in here and lift straight up. Little tiny 1/4-inch stroke maybe, but straight up. Just grabbing the tops of a few of these. Don't do this all chopped in uniform. Seldom will you want to do things extremely repetitively if you're painting landscapes, because that's just not what nature does most of the time. So be aware of that. If you're wired math brain like I am, that will drive you slightly crazier than you already are, because I like repetition on numbers and patterns, and I'm pretty good at puzzle things like that where there's logic and that sort of thing. So this really tests my old bean there. But anyway, so let's make a little darker one as we're getting down to the forefront of our far side of the lake. So I've just mixed up a little mountain mix. Going to leave just that little ridge of space between these two. I'll point to it in just a second. And I just want to fill this in down to about where I think the water is going to be. So I'm tapping, I'm moving quickly. There's no sliding stroke here. Be careful you don't slide. If you slide, you're going to lose all those great little points, which are the tops of your distant trees. There we go. There we go. That's really all we need. So let's grab the tops of those trees again. If you're a member of your local arborist club, you can tell your club mates that you have planted 100,000 trees, give or take, in about 30 seconds. And you will win Arborist of the Year. How about that? How cool is that? Now see, if you go wonky to the side like I did there, it looks like a little tornado or windstorm may have gone through your area there. So hopefully that's not the case. Okay, so let's keep going here. So we've got our mountain in, we've got some footy hills. I'm going to clean out the paint of my 1-inch brush, just so when I do this, to give us some reflection on the far side, I'll have a clean brush to work with. Just going to pull down. In my mind, this right side of our body of water here is closer to us, so we're going to, let's switch this a little bit. We're going to have a big tree over there. I know that, but you don't know that yet. But we will. So I'm just going to soften it. So I pulled straight down to make reflection from where I'm going to set the edge of the water there. Just want to soften some of that. And then I'm going to go straight across, ever so gentle, just to disturb it, make it look a little watery. See how it does that right there? Oh, it's just magic every time. Learn to be gentle with your brush, because you can always go back and do another stroke. But it is a son of a gun to get it back once you've used too much pressure and lost it. So let's put ourselves in a little water line on that far side, and we're going to jump up here to a great big old tree. So I've just grabbed a little liquid white out of my jar. Let me show that to you. So that's just liquid white oil paint. I think I'm in the picture there. I just put my knife down in the jar, smush it out flat on your palette. And you can either get it on the bottom of your knife, just like that, you don't need very much, or try it on the top of your knife. So just go through in a curve motion, it'll put that little roll of paint right out there on the top. Try it both ways, figure out which way you like. And all we're going to do is cut in a little bit of a water line. Saw your knife back and forth over here. Don't want this to be super, super pronounced. So, and don't do it the whole way across. Think about it if you were looking across a beautiful big body of water would you be able to see the entire waterline or coastline, shoreline, whatever you're comfortable calling it, on the far side? Not likely. Not likely. So just here and there, really saw in there. You're not going to hurt this canvas. My goodness, this canvas is tough, and it is not a scared, so don't you be scared. If you get any part that's too bright, just rub over it. But see how I didn't go uniformly across? It looks like our shoreline's going in that way and then comes back out a little. It just gives it some definition there. So that's all you're looking for, just the idea. You can come in and put a little ripple out here on the water on your reflections there, and that will just push them down in the water and really make this look deep. Now that's a good example. I feel like I got too much there, so I'm just going to rub back over it. This canvas will slurp right up that liquid white, so don't worry. That one's too bright for you, do the same thing. But keep those strokes mostly horizontal to your horizon, so you can still have motion on the water, but it's not going to look like it's running right off your page, off your canvas there. Quick break for some hydration. Found one of those little 0-calorie squirter things at the grocery store, and I found, oh, it's grape. It's delicious. I love grape. So let's grab ourselves a big number 6 fan brush, and we're going to put in some monster trees over here. So I'm going to take my fan brush and pull it gently through my mountain mix. I'll even grab a little blue. I just want this to be dark. Think about it that we're doing the back side of our big tree here. So I'm pulling it gently through, give it a little wiggle so you really get that paint down in there. And I'm going to show you the brush up close. Look down the edge, if you can, of that brush. I should have shown it to you beforehand, but now that is sharp like a knife. This thing started, and it was blown out wide and wild-haired like this from getting cleaned. And now look at the difference. You can really see I've got a lot of paint in there. Look at how deep this paint comes in there. It's almost down to the metal fairing there. So to do a tree and have it work, let the brush do the work for you, you really want to have it loaded well with paint. So Bob would often give himself a center line to follow. I love doing that because you don't need to put this in exactly straight. We're going to cover all that up, so don't worry about it. It's just a guide. And if you'll practice this a few times, you can really razzle-dazzle friends and family with this. You just don't tell them what you're doing, but that's your guide. And then you just come in here with the corner of your brush. I'm holding it with like a pencil. Just let it bend. And as you come down the tree and work left and right, you're just going to let more and more of that brush bend. You don't have to chase the shape of this tree. Let the brush do the work for you. But go down the middle, go to the left. All I did was turn over there to use the other side of my brush because I was kind of running out of paint a little bit. I'm going to reload, so I'm grabbing a little more blue, a little more mountain mix. I like to go up just a little bit to get those colors, since I'm mixing on the brush, blended together real nice. And that's kind of a good place to start. So there's a good place. I've still got a lot of dark in my fan brush, so I'm just going to kind of put in some bushy things for us to highlight here in a minute. It also does a great job cleaning out my brush. So we're just going to have a nice dark peninsula of land on this side of the water. Just adds us a layer and dimension. And my fan brush bailed out a hair or two, I guess. Having hair fall out while you paint is a sign of greatness. I don't know. It's working for me. All right, so my brush is pretty well cleaned out. I've got a nice dark area in the front here. Let's get that hair off of there. There we go. I like to jump in at this moment, use a tiny little bit of Van Dyke Brown. I'm going to use just a whisper of white and just have a nice little bit marbly brown and white combo just to sneak in a little tree trunk. Now you can, if you've watched a lot of Bill Alexander's videos on YouTube, he often plows the whole tree trunk in and then builds branches forward and highlights. Bob typically just does a few touches like that. That's my preference. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do it, so you do it both ways and see which one you like best. So now let's put some highlight on it. So we did the back of the tree, that's the dark color. Did the middle of the tree, that's the trunk. I'm going to take my same dirty fan brush and just put the corner down in the jar of my liquid white. Don't worry about the color coming off in your liquid white, it won't. The paint on the brush is much thicker than that liquid white. And I just want to make a little bit of a lighter green highlight color, and there's enough blue and dark on this brush that when I add some yellow to it, it's not just true on a Ziploc bag, but yellow and blue, I do know that much about color, will make you a nice green. I may need a little more liquid white. I do. I had so much paint still in the brush. That's how thick that was. I just want it to be a lighter, kind of an ugly green, to be quite honest with you, here on the palette. But that'll really be a beautiful color once we get it up on our tree. It's still way, way, way on the blue side of green. There it goes. There it goes. And I am fine with it having some bunch of marbly in the brush, because I'm not going to do much of this. We're not doing this as a cold winter scene, so I'm just going to touch and see what we're getting. Leave a bunch of this dark. Leave a lot of that dark. That's what's going to keep that depth for you. Work back and forth across your tree, and as you get down here to the bottom, just press lighter and lighter so you have less highlight there. But see, now that tree trunk, some of it's still exposed, some of it's covered up, just like if we walked outside and looked at a tree. Isn't that cool how that works? Okay, so let's do this. Let's pull in some reflection here of this, because our close side of this certainly would have some reflection on it. I'm using that same old dirty 2-inch brush that I used to do the mountain. We did the sky, the water with it early on. And we're not trying to do exact duplicates. We just need something to give us that illusion of reflection. Oh, look at that. We'll put some highlight down in it. So this is super, super light. Keep those reflection strokes horizontal to your horizon. So now let's put some dirt in there to hold up all these bushes and that big old tree. We're just going to start out here at the point. And as we get closer to us, I'm going to let this dirt get taller and taller, or wider and wider, depending on how you process that kind of depth. If you didn't get quite as much brown as you wanted, you really don't have to worry about it. But if you get real crazy, I'm a little crazy, so sometimes I'll go back and knock down any high spots, sneak in a little more brown here or there where I think it ought to be, and we're good there. So let's take a little tiny bit of white, put it with some brown just to make a lighter color, and ever so lightly, just kiss in some of this lighter color. Let it be all hit and miss. This just helps it look sandy, kind of like it's runoff area. It just really does something magical to that dirt feel there. If you want to get crazy, you certainly can. I like crazy. You don't have to be crazy to do this kind of painting. It does help. I will promise you that. Here and there and here, on just a few of your dirt spots, pull yourself down straight. Pull down with that little blade of the knife a little tiny bit for some reflection there. Don't do much. Don't overdo. Don't overdo. And ever so gently, go and fuzz that out. Blur it out. Just blend it in like that. We're going to do a water line. We're going to do some highlights here in a second. Let's go ahead and do those highlights, actually. So I'm going to take my other clean, dry 1-inch brush, pick up some liquid white, and now I'm going to go into my cad yellow there and load it full of paint, I'm picking up some of that green we made earlier. That'll be a nice color. You can probably see all that color variation. I hope you can. And that's totally cool. Now we'll just go out here to the, let's see, yeah, let's put the point furthest away. I'm going to go just above some of those shadow colors and ever so gently just push in and let these bend a little bit. If you want to flip right over and put some of those reflections down in the water, you just need the idea. Don't worry about making this exactly duplicate, because you won't. You just need the idea. I'm going to pick up a little more liquid white. Let that color vary again a little bit. Might pick up a little more of that green. I kind of like that greenish yellow we're getting here. So let's really get that fired in there and fire us in a few more little flowery, bushy things. Leave some little dark area in there. That will pay you big dividends. You can put a little darker bush back in the back if you want to. Pick up a little too much color from what's on the canvas, just brush it out in your paper towel there. Let's pick up a little more liquid white. Make this one a little brighter. But let your hand pressure vary. Leave some of that dark. You can put in some littler a word? It is today. And let's pick up some highlight, fire it down in the water, and we're just about done with this left side. And look how fast that was. Isn't that cool? So just got a little bit of the idea there. And now watch this, ever so gentle. Clean, dry brush, straight down, no pressure. Barely kiss this, barely touch. 2 hairs of the brush and the air in between them. Because you don't want to disturb all of your little flowery highlights there. And then ever so gently. Oh, look at that. Do you love it every time? Oh, painting should make you happy. If it doesn't make you happy, find something else to do. That just means it's not your bag. That's totally fine. But oh, makes me happy. I love it, love it, love it. All right, let's do some little scratched in. You can go up with little scratched in twiggy things just to give the idea of another layer of a little bit of wildlife, crazy creation kind of thing. You can also go the other way. Scratch in, clean point of the knife. This is nothing fancy here. But just scratch in a few sticks and twigs. As these dry, they will look like there are a million different things going on there. Let's go ahead and cut ourselves in a waterline there on this side. We may need to put a few grassy things here and there, it looks like, across that dirt line, just to set that back in there a little bit. I'd encourage you, just like on the other side, don't do the whole shoreline. And boy, you can really change it with how you scrub this in. So play with this, have some fun with it. I like it on the bottom of the knife, and I am using some pressure here because I don't want it to be super, super bright. I want it to look like there's some muddy-ish kind of water, like there's ripples coming across whatever our lake or bayou or whatever you'd call this body of water. But to me, it looks like we've left a little cove there. Maybe that's where the big bass hides. I don't know. I'm not much of a fisherman, but I do enjoy going every now and then. So if that's not the kind of fish that would live there, you know what it would be then. A couple of ripply water things on our reflections on this side just help set that down in there. I like leaving a couple of these a little brighter. Let's see how we're looking through the old camera lens. Yeah, that's doing fine. So let's fire in a big old tree and finish up this this other side over here. So what should we do that with? You want to do that with, let's do that with the 1-inch brush. That'll help it go faster than the fan brush. So I'm just going to pick up some dark color here. Picking up some dark, picking up some dark. Might have to scrub that back together because I kind of have it all smooshed out there. But let's just make a big old tree, bushy kind of thing right up here so it just covers the edge of the far side of our lake. And then it'll give us something to highlight down here. So we just need this something dark so we've got some light. We've got something dark to show the light when we highlight it here in a second. So we are just going to fire this in. And don't worry about really too much the shapes of these or anything like that. Excuse me for just a second. Sorry for the pause there. Just had to take care of something that was literally 30 seconds of real time. I just didn't want you to have to suffer through me being quiet or gone that long. I thought you might miss me. Maybe not. Again, just firing in something dark. Don't let your brush slide here, though. Don't slide. You want all those little wispy, twiggy, odd-looking things. They'll look like great foliage for you when you're done. Let's do a little something else on our tree here. Maybe our tree goes a little higher. I don't know what kind of tree this is. Maybe you do. That's cool. But we'll just kind of have a strange tree. If I were a tree, I'd probably be a little strange. That's just my guess. Boy, and sometimes they just keep growing. I like that. All right, so let's put in a nice tree trunk there in this one. Maybe this has a little taller trunk. Maybe we see a little bit here and there. You can even give yourself some branches. Don't worry about seeing the whole branch. Gracious sakes, you'd never see, unless your tree had lost all its leaves. It was the cold of winter time. I mean, if that's what you're painting, cool, but don't worry about all of it. Just put it in here and there. So we're going to do some beautiful highlights here. Let's make that a little greener. How about that? Let's pick up a little more liquid white. Let's start down here with what we had before. Kind of a drabish, olivish green. That's kind of cool. I'm good with that. Maybe a little more yellow, just a little brighter. And let's fire that in. Ooh, how nice is that? Now just think what branches would have leaves. So don't just fire these in randomly. Give it some thought, but don't overthink it. Leave yourself some dark area, vary that pressure in your hand, and just put in what you think your little tree-y kind of things would look like. It'll work great for you, I promise. Picking up some more liquid white. Let's make some bright, beautiful, highlighted bushy things here at the base of this. And we'll be just about having a finished painting. How cool is that? Remember to leave some dark here. You don't want to just look like you've got total repetition. Fight that urge. You get to feeling good. You get to going crazy with your highlights. You got to do that a few times, so when it happens, just be ready for it. You could go right back over, change it, scrape it off, grab yourself some paint thinner, and go again. Don't be scared, just be aware. Learn something every time you paint, and oh, you'll have a great time. Let's scratch ourselves in a few sticky and twiggy things under our tree foliage here. Again, this is just the clean point of the knife I'm scratching in there. Let's pull off the tape, see what we got, and we'll sign this one and call it a done painting. Thanks for hanging with me. How'd we do on the old time target today? Well, 38 minutes. I think I said 35 to 40, so look at that. An old dog learning a few new tricks. Oh, I do love the reveal of the tape coming off each time. That's good fun. You do get some paint on your fingers doing that typically, so do be aware. Don't go and grab the clean, beautiful sides of your painting there. I just have a little jar of paint thinner over here. My whole cleaning station's just off camera over on the right side of the room here. So I'm just got it loaded full of paint thinner. Just grabbing a little bit that bright red and making it thin like ink. There it goes. You can see it running down the palette a little bit because of the way I'm holding it. But turn that brush. Turn it through it. Brings it to a nice point. And then it's super easy to have it just flow off your brush. Make sure you got plenty of paint on there so when you're a world famous painter, all your friends and family can say, hey, we know who that is. Let's take one more look. All right, so there you have it. A straight through run of my first painting. Give that a go. Let me know when you try it with me, and hope to see you in class soon. Appreciate you watching. Progress, not perfection. We'll see you next time.